Nick Van Steenberghe finally responded to the criticism cycle this week, and the words he chose to use and the words he refused to use have split Nicolandria Nation right down the middle. If you came here for the receipts on what he actually said, what Alandria has done since, and why her silence is louder than any statement she could have made, you're in the right place.
I know what you're thinking. Did he really break his silence, or is this clickbait? He did. Us Weekly, May 14, on the record. Did Alandria actually react, or are you stretching? She reacted, and I'll show you exactly how, because her last public statement on a racial slur from October 2025 is doing the work for her right now. And if you're wondering whether this is another 20-minute brand deal recap disguised as drama, no. The brand timing is part of why this whole thing is so loud, and I'll get to that.
I have the full Us Weekly transcript from reporter Yana Grebenyu. I have Reality T, Yahoo, and AOL all connecting his exact words to the slur allegation within hours of the interview dropping. I have Olandria's October 29th, 2025 statement on record, the one where she said defending it, laughing about it, or making excuses is even worse. And I have the Cierra Ortega precedent, the same show, the same category of allegation, removed in 1 week. Every receipt is in this video. By the end of this video, you'll know the 3 exact words Nick used that have the fandom calling this the loudest non-denial in Love Island USA history. Why his silence on this allegation sits in violent contrast to how fast he clapped back at Vulture 2 weeks earlier, and what Olandria's complete silence since May 14 actually tells us about where this relationship really stands. The Amaya and Brian Winters breakup looks like a warm-up compared to what's happening to Nicolandria right now. Let's get into it. Before we get into the new interview, I need everyone to remember where this couple actually started, because the receipts matter here. Nic Vansteenberghe and Olandria Carthen met on Love Island USA Season 7, which premiered June 3rd, 2025 on Peacock, hosted by Ariana Madix, narrated by Ian Sterling. They kissed on day 1 in the Fiji villa during the blindfold challenge, walked away from each other, and spent the next 6 weeks coupled up with other people. Olandria was with Taylor Williams, Nick was with Cierra Ortega. Casa Amor came and went. The villa twisted itself into knots. And in the final week of the competition, after Cierra Ortega was removed from the show on July 6, 2025 for resurfaced anti-Asian slur posts from 2015 and 2020, Olandria walked across that villa to sit with Nick, and Nicolandria finally became real. They lost the $100,000 prize to Amaya and Brian at the July 13th, 2025 finale. They walked out as runners-up. And the second they got their phones back, they found out that 250,000 fan letters had been submitted in their name and 165,000 TikTok posts carrying the Nicolandria hashtag had been built while they were in Fiji with no idea any of it existed. Look, a man got linked to a racial slur allegation, did a national press tour the next day, and refused to address it on the record? And you're sitting there with your hand not on the like button? Tap it. My rent is due Tuesday, and the only thing keeping me out of my mom's guest room is your engagement on this video. Be a girl's girl. I'm laying all of that out because the story I'm about to tell you only makes sense against that backdrop. Cierra Ortega being removed for racial slur posts is the precedent. Olandria being a dark-skinned black woman from Decatur, Alabama, a first-generation Tuskegee University graduate, is the precedent. The fact that this couple's entire post-villa platform has been built on Olandria's identity, her HBCU advocacy, her NYX Cosmetics deal, her Vaseline, Aveeno, Sephora, Sweet Green, UGG Fluff Mama, Reebok Angel Reese, Barbie You Can Be Any Barbie Coachella campaigns, her Glamour December 2025 holiday cover with Nick, her Sports Illustrated swimsuit 2026 debut, her 83rd Golden Globe Awards red carpet, her Ebony Power 100 win, her Paris Haute Couture Week debut? That is the precedent. None of this lands without it. On May 14th, 2026, Us Weekly published an exclusive sit-down with Nic Vansteenberghe, reported by Yana Grebenyu, timed to promote his new beverage brand partnership. The interview tackled what Us Weekly framed as criticism around his romance with Olandria Carthen, and the quotes Nick delivered came out short, clipped, and pointed. His exact words were, "At this point, the critics and the critiques are just overdone." Right after that came the second line, "I've said all I need to say." And then the line everyone is dissecting. "At this point, it's just about not giving it any more attention."
Here's where the story gets layered. Us Weekly itself frames those quotes as a response to general romance criticism, the fake relationship rumors that have been chasing this couple since Vulture published their May 4, 2026 piece calling Nick's relationship a role he leaned into because the fandom wanted it. The social media pressure, all of that surrounding noise. The same day, May 14, Reality T ran their own write-up of the interview and explicitly tied those exact quotes to something else entirely. Their version stated that Nick is, quote, getting plenty of backlash online, including for an alleged viral video in which he reportedly utters a racial slur, among other things. That framing syndicated out to Yahoo, then to AOL, and suddenly the headlines had nothing to do with romance criticism anymore. The whole conversation shifted to that alleged video.
This is the part I have to be careful about, because I want to be straight with you. Nick never directly named the alleged video inside the Us Weekly interview. No confirmation that it exists, no denial that it exists, just the line that the critics are overdone and he's not giving it any more attention. Reality T is the outlet that drew the line between his quotes and that specific allegation. But here's the thing. Once that line got drawn and it hit Yahoo and AOL, that became the conversation. Nick has not pushed back on the framing. No clarification, no statement saying, "Wait, that's not what I was talking about." His silence on the framing has become its own kind of statement. Let's talk about the alleged video itself, because I want to be transparent about what we actually know versus what we don't. Reporting on this video is extraordinarily thin. The coverage describes it only as an alleged viral video in which Nick reportedly utters a racial slur, among other things. And that's the entire language we're working with. Alleged. Reportedly, not a single mainstream outlet has described what's on the video, when it was recorded, when it surfaced, or whether it's authentic. Nextshark posted about it on Facebook, but beyond that, the specifics aren't in the public record. Everything from this point forward operates on the premise that this is an allegation Nick is being asked about, rather than a confirmed event. Here's what's making this hit so hard for the Nicolandria fandom. To understand why this allegation lands with this kind of weight, you have to understand what Alandria has already survived. Not once, twice.
The first time was Cierra Ortega. Cierra was Nick's villa partner. The two of them were the only couple in the Fiji villa to officially close their relationship, which on Love Island USA is the closest thing to exclusivity you can get. On July 6, 2025, Cierra was removed from the show, and Ian Sterling told viewers it was for personal reasons. Olandria fans on TikTok and X already knew the real reason. Old social media posts using anti-Asian slurs had resurfaced, one from 2015, one from 2020, and Peacock made the call. The Cierra precedent is sitting in the back of everyone's mind right now because Love Island USA has a track record on this specific issue. They removed her. They didn't ask questions, they didn't wait for context, they removed her. And Nick spent the next several months talking about how he was processing what he'd learned about her past.
If your jaw is on the floor right now, realizing that Peacock removed Cierra Ortega in 7 days for resurfaced posts, but Nick gets to do a national brand campaign while a racial slur allegation actively circulates, you need to be subscribed to this channel, because this is the only group chat that's been tracking the Nicolandria saga since day one in Fiji, and I am not letting you find out the next twist from someone's Twitter repost. My therapist said I need a hobby, and instead, I made this channel. Honor her sacrifice. Tap subscribe.
The second time happened in October 2025, and this one happened to Alandria directly. On October 27, 2025, Huda Mustafa, Alandria's Season 7 castmate, was doing an Instagram Live with her boyfriend, Lewis Russell, the Too Hot to Handle and Perfect Match alum. They were taking calls from fans.
An anonymous caller, who reportedly sounded like a child, got on the line and used the N-word against Alandria, the hard R version. Huda and Louis hung up. The clip that went viral was the few seconds right after. They laughed. Louis said, "Whoa, hey." Huda said, "Turn that off." A moment later, Huda asked, "What did they say?" They said a bad word.
By October 29th, the clip was everywhere, and Alandria put out a statement on Instagram stories that I want to read in full because of how directly it speaks to this current moment with Nick. Her exact words were, "I do not condone racism of any kind, nor do I entertain it. That kind of language is never acceptable, not in anger, not as a joke, not ever. Words like that carry generations of pain, and pretending otherwise only keeps the cycle going. Defending it, laughing about it, or making excuses is even worse." A statement wasn't the only move she made. Alandria directed her followers to donate to the NAACP, the UNCF, and the Thurgood Marshall College Fund. TMZ confirmed the Thurgood Marshall College Fund received 171 donations, totaling $7,120 in the wake of her call to action. Huda apologized, Louis apologized. Huda's explanation was that the laughter happened because it was awkward, that she didn't catch the slur was being aimed at Alandria specifically. The apologies landed how they landed. The point is, just 7 months ago, Alandria drew an extraordinarily clear line in the sand about racial slurs. Not in anger, not as a joke, not ever. And that's why an allegation involving her own boyfriend hits a completely different way. We already have her on record telling the entire internet what she thinks of people who use that word, and exactly what she thinks of people who defend it, laugh about it, or make excuses. When fans look at Nick's "I've said all I need to say" line, they're not just hearing a deflection. They're hearing it against the backdrop of Olandria's own words from October, and the Cierra Ortega precedent from July, and the fact that Love Island USA itself has already shown what happens when a contestant's racial slur posts come to light. Cierra got removed in a week. Nick is doing a national press tour.
Quick pause, because Olandria literally typed those words into her phone 7 months ago, hit post on her Instagram story, and right now, somewhere, she is watching this entire allegation cycle play out around her own boyfriend. And you and I both know she has seen her own quote being screenshotted on TikTok this week. If you are not subscribed to this channel as Olandria's quote is actively being weaponized against her own boyfriend, what are we doing? Tap subscribe. This is the only place breaking down every Nicolandria development the second it drops. And after Season 8 premieres on June 2, the brand voting closes July 22, and his DJ tour wraps August 7, there is going to be a lot to drop. Don't make Alandria's silence the loudest thing in this group chat. Be informed.
Now let's get into the relationship piece, because this is where the angle gets messy and where I want to push back on some of the louder takes circulating online. The narrative going around right now is that Nick, in this Us Weekly interview, walked back the partner hard launch and quietly downgraded Alandria back to girlfriend. I looked at this carefully, and that framing isn't really supported by the timeline. Back in early November 2025, Nick actually used both words in the same breath, partner and girlfriend, and fans at the time read girlfriend as a clarification of partner, not a retreat from it. Every interview since then has him consistently calling her his girlfriend. Inside the Us Weekly piece itself, the girlfriend reference shows up in this context, his exact line being, "They took us out on the boat and brought out my girlfriend and friends, and we had a good time," talking about a spring break activation in Panama City. That's a casual usage, not a public relabeling. If you've seen takes online claiming he downgraded her, that's a stretch.
What is verifiably true is that Nick has openly admitted to pulling back from the internet. His exact words to Us Weekly were, "Lately, not revealing too much about my personal life has been so nice for the both of us." Us Weekly confirmed he's been, quote, blocking people and setting boundaries online. That part isn't speculation. That's him saying it on the record.
This connects directly to an earlier Us Weekly interview from April 21st, 2026, which is part of the same arc. In that earlier conversation, his words were, "I felt like at first I was pressured to share. We are filmed 24/7. Lately, I haven't been posting anything."
It's actually so great. So sorry to not give you crumbs, Nicolandria Nation. A pattern is forming here. The pullback started at least a month before the slur allegation conversation hit critical mass. Blocking people, not posting, setting up a moat around himself.
And this is where the Vulture piece becomes part of the bigger picture. Less than 2 weeks before the Us Weekly interview, on May 4, 2026, Vulture published a feature on the biggest reality TV stars of 2026. And inside that piece, the writer described Nick's run on Love Island USA as a series of strategic pivots, then wrote that he leaned into the role of, quote, person in love with Olandria with comfort and poise, and framed Nicolandria as the runaway victors in fan fondness and sponsorship deals. The word role was doing all the work there. Nick responded on Threads, and his exact words were, "Dear Vulture magazine, I fly all the way to New York where you ask me to be photographed half naked, and you smile and shake my hand, and then write some like that?" Then he followed with, "I'm sure I'll be told to not speak up about this." That was the Vulture attack. This is the second one in less than 2 weeks. The fake relationship attack he engaged with directly. The allegation he refuses to even name.
Here's the part I think a lot of viewers are going to find the most uncomfortable. While all of this unfolds, while the allegation keeps circulating, while Nick goes silent online, while he's blocking critics, the brand machine is moving forward at full speed.
On May 13, 2026, one day before the Us Weekly interview hit, the partnership dropped a PR Newswire press release announcing the brand is now the official malt beverage of Love Island USA. Diageo Beer Company USA is the sponsor. The campaign is called the Fan Edit. Fans 21 and up can vote from May 22nd through July 22nd on which flavors get added to a future variety pack, with 8 flavors competing and 4 making the cut. 2 new variety packs are being promoted right now. The faces of the entire campaign are Nic Vansteenberghe, Jeremiah Brown, and Iris Kendall. The sweepstakes grand prize is a trip for 2 to New York City to attend a taping of Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen. The same Andy Cohen who co-hosted the August 25, 2025 Love Island USA Season 7 reunion. Over 100 winners get limited edition merch packs. June 2nd is when Love Island USA Season 8 premieres on Peacock.
When Nick says he's not giving it any more attention, what he's giving attention to is this, a national beverage partnership that launched literally the day before he delivered that quote. A voting campaign running from May 22nd through July 22nd. A massive content push tied to a brand new season of the same show that made him famous. The brand isn't slowing down. The contracts aren't slowing down. And the timing of his "I've said all I need to say" lines up almost too perfectly with the start of a campaign that requires him to stay visible, on message, and free of a lingering scandal cycle.
I want to be fair here. Is it possible Nick is genuinely innocent of whatever's on that alleged video, or that the video doesn't show what people are claiming it shows, and his strategy of refusing to engage is just the smartest PR play available to him? Yes, that's a real possibility, and I'm not telling you what to think. There's also a reading where his silence is protective, that the more he talks about it, the more oxygen the allegation gets, and the more Olandria has to keep being asked about it on every red carpet for the next year. From that angle, refusing to address it could genuinely be him trying to shield her from a media cycle she never signed up for.
Here's the other reading, though, and this is what the louder corner of the fandom is sitting with right now. If the video doesn't exist, or if the audio in it isn't what people are saying it is, the easiest thing in the world would be to say so. 1 sentence. That sentence costs nothing. He had no problem firing off a Threads post the second Vulture called his relationship a role. The fact that we have not gotten that same energy on this allegation, when Nick clearly knows it's out there, because he's responding to it indirectly enough that Reality T connected the dots within hours, that absence is what people are reading into. In PR terms, that's called a non-denial. And Olandria fans are noticing that her own boyfriend's response to this allegation comes across markedly less direct than her own response when she was the target of a slur, and markedly less direct than his response to a magazine writer who hurt his feelings.
Don't like this video.
Genuinely. Stay team, he's just protecting her privacy. Keep that energy. Go find out from a random TikTok comment that Nick had the audacity to write a full Threads paragraph the second Vulture hurt his feelings, but couldn't manage one sentence on this. I dare you to scroll past that like button. And while you're at it, tell me in the comments, protecting her or non-denial? Because I have thoughts, and the audacity is currently keeping me awake at night.
I want to come back to Alandria specifically because she has stayed almost entirely silent on this latest chapter, and that silence is doing its own work. Just a reminder of who we're talking about here. Olandria Carthen, born May 29th, 1998, 27 years old, from Decatur, Alabama. Eldest of 6 siblings, first-generation college graduate from Tuskegee University, the historically black university, who used to sell elevators at Otis Elevator Company in Houston, Texas, before walking into the Fiji villa with 13,100 Instagram followers and walking out with 1.1 million. Her own Wikipedia entry notes she received media attention during the season for discussions of representation, particularly as a dark-skinned black woman. This is a woman whose entire post-villa brand has been built on visibility for black women. The Ebony Power 100 People's Choice Award in November 2025, the Ebony Power issue cover, the Route 100, the Revolt Power List, partnerships with Microsoft Copilot specifically built to spotlight HBCU history. CNN described Nicolandria as a cultural phenomenon, and a big part of that is that Nick, a white man from Jacksonville, Florida, very publicly and devotedly chose a dark-skinned black woman in a media landscape that doesn't always do that.
What does it mean when that exact woman, whose entire public-facing platform involves uplifting black women and HBCUs, is now linked to someone facing this kind of allegation and isn't denying it? That's the question fans are sitting with, and it's not a question I can answer for you. We don't have a public statement from Alandria about the allegation. No Instagram stories, no comment on the red carpet. As of January 2026, on the 83rd Golden Globe Awards red carpet, her words to the New York Post were, "We support each other there. We also support each other as far as his solo career." So I really feel like that's why we're so successful. That's the most recent on-the-record relationship comment I could find from her, and it predates this entire news cycle.
And this is where the contrast with the Season 7 winners becomes impossible to ignore. Amaya Espinal and Brian Arenalis won Love Island USA Season 7 on July 13, 2025, took home the $100,000 prize, made history as the first Latino couple to win the show, attended the August 25, 2025 reunion hosted by Ariana Madix and Andy Cohen, and on August 27, 2 days after that reunion aired, Amaya posted on Instagram that they were no longer together, with the line, "You don't have to drink the whole sea to know it's salty." The Season 7 winners lasted 6 weeks in the real world. Nicolandria, as of right now, is still standing through all of this. Nick confirmed it himself in December 2025 when Northwest got on a Kim Kardashian Skims TikTok livestream and asked him point blank if he had broken up with Alandria, and his answer was immediate. "No, I didn't. Nicolandria 4L. That's the receipt the fandom keeps coming back to. That's also the receipt that makes the current silence on this allegation hit harder, because we know this man knows how to publicly affirm her when he wants to.
So where does this leave us? Let me lay out exactly what we know and exactly what we don't. What we know is that an allegation exists of a viral video in which Nick reportedly uses a racial slur. The video itself has not been described, dated, or verified by mainstream reporting. On May 14, 2026, Nick told Us Weekly that critics are overdone, that he's said all he needs to say, and that he's not giving it any more attention. Multiple outlets, including Reality T, Yahoo, and AOL, have tied those quotes to the slur allegations specifically. No denial from Nick. No confirmation either. He has admitted on record to actively blocking critics on social media. He pushed back hard on Vulture for calling his relationship a role, but he has not pushed back at all on this allegation. And the brand partnership, with Nick as a face of it, alongside Jeremiah Brown and Iris Kendall, kicked off voting May 22 and runs through July 22, with Love Island USA Season 8 premiering June 2.
What we don't know is what's actually on the alleged video, when it was filmed, whether Olandria has seen it, what she thinks of it, whether her management at United Talent Agency has seen it, and whether Nick's strategy here is to protect her, protect himself, or protect a brand contract. We also don't know what Ace Green or Taylor Williams, the two Season 7 castmates who've spent the last 10 months questioning whether Nicolandria is real, will do with this allegation. Because if there's anyone in the Love Island USA universe with a documented track record of using Olandria's name for content, it's those two. Their silence on this particular story is its own subplot worth watching.
What we do know for certain is that just 7 months ago, Alandria said, quote, defending it, laughing about it, or making excuses is even worse. She wasn't talking about Nick. She was talking about Huda and Louie. Those words exist now in a completely different context than they did in October 2025. Whether Nick's "I've said all I need to say" turns out to be the smartest move of his career or the loudest non-denial in Love Island USA history, that's the part the Nicolandria fandom is going to be sitting with all the way through Season 8 on June 2 and through his 8-city North American DJ tour running through August 7, 2026.
And before you click off, Love Island USA Season 8 premieres June 2 on Peacock. The brand voting window closes July 22, Nick's 8-city DJ tour wraps August 7, and Ace Green and Taylor Williams have not said one word about this allegation yet, which, if you've been here for a minute, you know is the calm before the podcast storm. If you don't subscribe right now, I will be legally forced to hand my channel over to the brand's PR team, and you will come back here in 3 weeks to find every video titled "A Refreshing Take on the Nicolandria Discourse." Tap subscribe. I am serious. The saga is not over. Drop your read in the comments. Are you on team he's protecting her or on team say it then? I want to hear it. And if you want me to keep tracking this story all the way through the Season 8 premiere on June 2, the brand voting window closing July 22, Nick's DJ tour wrapping August 7, and whatever Ace and Taylor inevitably say next, hit subscribe. Because if the last 12 months on this couple have taught us anything, it's that there is always a next chapter.